there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters Room. Today we're in Las Vegas. Today we're going to talk about is tipping in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is the most tipping city you can go to anywhere in the world. In any situation you're in, realize most of the time if someone is helping you, you're probably going to need to tip them. So what I'm going to do is go through the common tips and how much you should tip in different situations when you're here in Las Vegas. And yes, I know some people feel tipping is wrong and people should pay people more. Look, it doesn't matter what your feelings are on this. This is how this city works. And I want you to know, because when you're tipping, you do get better service here, because that's how people make a living. If we just start when you're going to a hotel, if you're driving in, yes, you do tip the valet when you come. And I would say give them $2 or $3, maybe $5 when you first give your keys up to them, but also tip them again when you get your keys back, especially if you're going to be doing valet multiple times, or you're here for like a weekend, or you're here for a week doing things. That's going to be helpful, okay? Now, if you're going into the hotel, next thing you have is the bellhop that's helping you bring your stuff to your room. Now, when you have a bellhop, remember, it's about $2 to $5 per bag. Now, if they're light bags, obviously towards $2. If you're gonna have like insanely heavy bags and tons of stuff, then it's gonna be a bit more, but do know that, okay? Now, in your hotel room, you might wanna tip your housekeeping. Now, here's the thing, you might wanna check and see if your property you're staying at, your accommodation, already has an automatic gratuity added on to your bill for the housekeeping. If it is, you can ask to take that off and then you can tip them directly. But if it's not there, usually the housekeeping is about $3 to $5 per day. And I would recommend leaving that every day, because it might be different cleaners each day. But what I do want to tell you is leave a little note, tell them it's for them, thank you. Or if there's a little envelope to put it in there for the housekeeping, so you make sure they get it, because if they're just money laying around, they probably shouldn't be taking it because they don't know if it's for them or not. So do be aware of that. Now, if you're looking to get tickets, the concierges here can be a lifesaver to get you tickets to shows and get you into like events you weren't planning to get onto and they somehow got you in. Look, if they're getting into a show that's depending on how difficult that reservation is to get, if it's something simple, maybe you just give them $5. But if they're getting you to like a good restaurant, you want to tip them like $20. If it's something insane, you might want to tip a bit more, because those concierges are trying to get you better stuff. And so the better stuff they get for you, you might want to tip a bit more. Now, what about room service? Now, room service is one of those things you definitely have to look on the bill they bring up to you that you sign for, if it's already included. If it's already included, you don't have to do anything. However, if room service is not, they don't have the tip included, the service included, then it is like if you're going to a restaurant, 18 to 20%. So that's what you're gonna tip on the room service. And I know some people are like, what? It's just room service. Well, I'm just the messenger. Don't kill me. I'm just kind of telling you the overall kind of ideas you need to know with the tipping. And since I talked about restaurants, 18 to 20%, yes, you go to restaurants here, sit-down restaurants, not if you're going to McDonald's or Starbucks, no. If you're going to a sit-down restaurant where they're bringing your food, they're taking your order, that is 18 to 20%. Obviously, do a better job, you can tip them more. But honestly, any tipping thing is obviously your choice. It's not required to do. Unless you have a table of you go to a restaurant with over 6 people, then they might have a automatic gratuity that's put on there. So always check. If you got a big group, if they have that gratuity automatically added on. Now, what about if you're going to one of the buffets here in Las Vegas? Well, yes, you do tip at the buffet, but you only tip if there's somebody that's coming to not just take your plates, but they're going to be refilling your sodas or refilling your drinks. Then you're going to tip them. And that's like $2 to $5 per person. Not a lot, but you're leaving something behind because they were getting your drink and bringing it to you. If they're not bringing anything to the table, they're not helping it out at all, then no, you don't have to tip. Now, what about at the bars? Well, if you're going to a bar and you're just grabbing a beer or a simple drink, $1 or $2 per drink is fine. And remember, tipping at the bar is important because they might not see you next time you come up to order if you didn't tip last time. And yes, they are bitter and they have really good memory here. So don't think you're gonna be like, well, he won't remember, or she won't remember I didn't tip them yesterday. Oh yeah, they remember you and they tell their friends as well. So $1 or $2 per drink. Now, if you get something more complicated, like a more expensive drink, then yes, the tip would be higher. But a traditional, like grabbing a beer or grabbing a rum and coke, $1 or $2, you're gonna be fine. Now, what if you're going to one of those bottle service places? You know, when they're like, oh, we got bottle service, they bring the bottles to the table, $100 bottles, $200 bottles, these kind of things. Think even more like a sit-down restaurant because they're bringing your drinks. 18 to 20% of your bill. That's what you're going to be charged, or what you should be giving as tips at a bottle service place. However, I will tell you, if it's a bottle service place, make sure you look and see, because those sometimes have automatic gratuities already put on there. So check and see for that service, okay, for the tips that it might already be there, okay? Now, what about at the casino? Well, if you're thinking about those free drinks they bring around to people that are gambling, one thing I gotta tell you, they're only free because they don't charge you, but you do need to tip the cocktail waitresses. Look, they bring you a beer, give them a buck or two. They bring you a mixed drink, maybe more, something nicer, you're tipping more. I mean, if you're in a high roller table, you're tipping more, obviously, because I will tell you, those free drinks will not be coming by very often unless you're tipping those cocktail waitresses. Wow. Now, let's say you're having a good night and you're on a roll and you're like, hey, how do I tip my dealer? Look, your dealers, they want you to win. Why? Because you're winning big. You're usually tipping, 1 to 5% of your winnings. You're tipping to the dealer. So they're like, hey, you win, I win, everybody's happy. So one of those things to kind of think about when you're playing. Now let's talk about some of the other random people you might want to be tipping when you're here. If you're going to the pool and they have a pool attendant, you tip them if they're getting your umbrella ready for you, if they're getting the towels for you, then you do tip them. And that's like $2 to $5, okay? That's what you're tipping them for those pool attendants. If you're going to a spa and you're getting a massage or a facial, that's more of a traditional service kind of thing. So it's that 15 to 20% on the bill, you'll do that. Now, what about tours? Maybe you're gonna take the Hoover Dam tour, you're gonna do things like that. Usually what you're thinking about for a tip for a tour guide, think 15 to 20% of the cost of the tour. Or if you're a group tour, probably what I'd say is like $5 to $10 per person. If it's a full day tour, they're taking you all over, maybe a bit more, but that's kind of a nice base for you. And remember, you tip the tour guide, but also the driver on the tour as well. And you do tip the tour guide more than the driver, traditionally. You can do whatever you want, but I'm saying usually the tour guide gets tipped more. The driver, you're usually tipping that tour bus driver like $2 to $5 per person in your group, okay? Now, speaking of drivers, what about the taxis? What about the ride shares like Ubers and Lyfts? So you're only taking the taxi and the ride share. Think about 15 to 20%. That's gonna be kind of your default kind of tip you're gonna put on. And I will say, if you're paying for taxis with credit card, sometimes there's a service fee to go on there, so it's good to have cash when you're there so you can tip. And that's one thing you need to realize. Before you come here, take out cash, because the ATMs on the strip will charge you like $10 to take out cash, but you wanna have singles, you wanna have fives. You wanna be cool? Have some $2 bills to tip. People remember that. But you want to have those small bills for the tipping. Now, also, if you're going to be heading out, you got your airport shuttle. They're picking you up from the hotel, and they're taking you to the airport to head home to celebrate your fun times here in Las Vegas. You're like, oh, what a great day. The last Las Vegas person you're really hanging out with is that airport shuttle driver, and yes, you should tip them. The thing is, it's not a lot. Think about a buck or two per big bag you have. That's kind of a nice way to tip them, to say thank you for getting me to Harry Reid International Airport so I can fly back home and enjoy my winnings from all my gambling here in Las Vegas. Now, what about in the bathroom? Well, if there's an attendant at a bathroom and you take something, then leave a buck. So if you take a mint or something, then you leave something. If you don't take anything, you don't have to tip. Now, I know tipping is one of those things that people get really upset about, but here in Vegas, this is how the locals survive. This is how the people that work here and survive here, the people that help you have a great time here in Vegas, that's how they make their living. So please, don't forget to tip. Literally, your valet, your dealers, your bellhops, your taxi drivers, your restaurant people, your housekeeping, so many people. I know it can be a much. That's why I say get that cash beforehand so you have it ready to go. Anyway, who else did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. And are you a tipper or a non-tipper? Let us know. Don't kill the messenger. I'm just sharing that is how Las Vegas works, baby. Anyway, I want to say thanks to all the fantastic people in Las Vegas who let us have a great time yet again when we're here. And also special thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon and our members on YouTube. Thank you for the tips as well, for all the fun stuff we give you. We appreciate your support. Anyway, wish y'all the best. I'll say bye from here in Las Vegas on the Las Vegas Strip.